comic book fans? This is Blue Goblin with a special video. In this video, I'm planning to review 3 comic books from Free Comic Book Day, and I'm also going to review the movie X-Men Origins Wolverine, which I catched just last night. So let's get started with the 3 comic books that I received from Free Comic Book Day. We were all the fans were limited to 3 books per customer, and these were the 3 I picked. So let's get started with the Bongo Comics Free for All, which features the Simpsons. This was cute. This was very funny. This was nostalgic of classic comic books that I, read from like the newspapers and stuff, and it had a great feel to it reading this book because I am a huge Simpsons fan. But I'm not going to be one of those Simpsons fans who knows exactly everything that happened in every episode. I'm not the world's biggest trivia buff when it comes to cartoons, specifically The Simpsons. But this was a great read, very funny stuff, bit cornball at some things, and Craig was right about the Olmec tiki head, the giant tiki head in the basement. That was a particularly nice touch. The story that went with that, the Bart and Homer superhero story, that was pretty funny. Very good stuff. This was a book that I'm glad I have. It didn't cost me anything, because if it was going to be a bad book, I really wouldn't complain. Next up, ironically, this was the smallest book, literally smallest book out of the bunch. It's the Avengers book, written by Brian Michael Bendis for Free Comic Book Day. By the way, all these books were provided to me by the great people at Arkham Comics. This is a nice place to go if you live in the Mid-South, specifically the Northeast Arkansas area. But the Avengers book was a very great read. It's told from the view of Spider-Man. It deals with the new Avengers and the Dark Avengers having to team up to face one common enemy. They take on a frost giant that beats the shit out of Thor. It's a great story, phenomenally done. It's actually a well-told story despite it being a free comic book. Because I've done 3 Free Comic Book Days in a row now. For 3 straight years, I've been a part of Free Comic Book Day. And this is the first time that I've actually read a free comic book where it actually seems like a full-blown story and not just a 5-page preview of an upcoming comic book. Very nicely done. Brian Michael Bendis, once again, hits another solid note with Avengers. Despite the fact that the last issue of New Avengers really let me down. And, there's going to be a lot of people who think Brian Michael Bendis' work is absolute crap, and there's going to be some people who think that he's a genius. I'm kind of in the middle sometimes with that. But that was good. I hope you picked that book up. Do I even have to say what else I got? I'll just go ahead and show it to you. Yeah. Blackest Night 0 issue. Solid book. Great stuff. Jeff Johns, you are the man. Wow. Usually I hate comic books that give us backstories on every team of such and such, but with this book is an exception. This book is great. I loved it. You get a great conversation between Hal Jordan and Barry Allen. I chuckled a little bit when Green Lantern was talking about Robin, and Barry's like, "Yeah, Dick's always been that way." He said, "No, I meant Tim Drake. You haven't met him yet." That was a particularly nice touch. They talk about the death of Batman. And we get our first look at the Black Lantern Corps, and the last page that sums up the Black Lantern Corps. And you see all those hands coming out of the ground. I want you to see if you recognize any of those hands coming out of the ground. I'm not spoiling anything. Just want to see how well you know your DC. Just try to take a guess who all is going to be in the Black Lantern Corps. Blackest Night, with this kicking it off, is going to be, without a doubt, perhaps DC's story of the year, if not the comic book storyline of the year for 2009. Very nicely done. If you had to get just one book from Free Comic Book Day, I hope you made it this one. It's very nicely done. All right, now that we got that out of the way, I want to talk about X-Men Origins Wolverine. I went there thinking that this was going to be kind of like a prequel to the entire X-Men movie franchise, you know, just focusing on Wolverine, because that's exactly what it was. What did I think of the movie? Well, I thought it was actually really, really good. You know, maybe I'm sounding a little biased here because I'm a Wolverine fan, even though I don't necessarily collect everything he does in the comic books, because he is known now as the king of one-shots. But this movie was actually really good. I did have some minor disappointments in it. The biggest disappointment for me was Deadpool. The fans were telling me on my video saying, "Are you sure you want to go see this movie? Because I don't like what they did with Deadpool." I got to agree. Ryan Reynolds did a great job in the beginning of it, but his speaking role as Deadpool was just way too short. And the final version of Deadpool that we get in the movie, I liked the look, but they took away perhaps the most treasured, what is it I'm looking for here? What's the word I'm looking for? They took away the most well-known thing about Deadpool: his mouth, his smart-ass attitude, his bad jokes, his deadly humor. It took that away, and that pissed me off. The final product of Deadpool was such a disappointment. I was actually happy with the role of Gambit, with Gambit's role in the movie. I thought it was great. He could have been a little more French, because, yeah, he's a Cajun, but he's got more of a French accent, no? I was expecting more of that. I thought he had a great role in the movie. Wasn't too happy with Will.i.am's performance in the movie, but, what are you going to do? The Blob's role was phenomenally funny. It was great. The boxing scene with Wolverine and the Blob was great. The theater was packed when I went there last night. It was just completely packed, and I got to tell you, the entire crowd just laughed their asses off after Wolverine busted out of the Weapon X facility, and yeah, I don't even. Yeah, he became a streaker. It was funny. I know I might be spoiling things a little too much if you haven't seen the movie, so I'm going to be fair. I'm sorry if I'm spoiling anything from the movie, but I'm just giving my 2 cents on it. I thought it was really good. I see all these fans here on YouTube saying that the movie was bad because it didn't have the action wasn't that well done. There's some people. There's always going to be nitpicking in any movie that's ever done. Even The Dark Knight had some nitpicking. Just ask the angry video game nerd when he reviewed The Dark Knight. Everybody's got something to nitpick about in any movie, and I did too. I didn't like Deadpool's role when he had the finished project, with the blades and the burnt eyes and everything, and he had all these mutant powers. You see Cyclops and Emma Frost, but what for? And why didn't Emma Frost have telekinetic powers? I just didn't get that. Other than that, I thought the movie was good. Wasn't perfect, but I thought it was really, really good. And really, I don't have anything else to say about it other than that it's a great movie, and I suggest you go ahead and go see it. Don't listen to people who absolutely trash it. And I'm surprised IGN trashed it. My final score, everybody's giving it rating it from 1 to 5 stars. I'll give it 3.5 stars. It was good, but there were a lot of parts out in this movie that could have been better. Yeah, I think 3.5 stars is a fair score. Wasn't perfect, but it was good enough to watch and was good enough to enjoy. It really felt like I was watching a Wolverine movie. Very nicely done, and that's all I have to say about it. So, hope you like this video, and until next time, I'll see you later.